Hey everyone, it's me, Sue, and I thought I would talk about something today that Chris isn't as much into, but I do feel like it ties into finances a little bit because I feel like when people start taking control of their finances, they tend to feel like they need to declutter. A lot of people feel like they fall into wanting to do minimalism, and so I thought I would kind of start doing a semi-regular thing with sort of dehauling, decluttering, something along those lines. So very recently, I once again did the KonMari Method in our apartment. And if you don't know what KonMari is, then maybe you've heard of the person that came up with the idea, which is Marie Kondo. And she has her own special on Netflix. She has a book that she came out with years and years ago, which is actually something that I read probably 2 years ago. And it's all about organizing your life and sort of decluttering, but especially just keeping things that spark joy, make you happy, fulfill your life, things along those lines. So Marie Kondo has a method that she goes through in her book, and she explains the order to do this decluttering type process in. And it starts off with all of your clothes. You gather all of the clothing items from your whole home or your whole apartment or whatever your living situation is. So all your winter clothes, all your summer clothes, everything, and you pile it all up and you go through all of it. Then you do all of your books, then you go through all of your papers. Then this category is shockingly large, but you do miscellaneous, which is basically everything else, your kitchen, your bathroom, all of that, but you go by similar groupings of items. So all your DVDs or all your towels or whatever it is, there are subcategories. You should totally look it up if you're really interested. And then the last thing that you go through is all of your sentimental items. So photos, like figurine gifts from people, really any gifts from people. So there's a whole order to doing this, and sentimental falls last because that's the one that a lot of people really tend to struggle with ever getting rid of any of it. And I know I did, and I'll get into that at some point. So the first thing is, because you've gathered everything together that you're going to be going through and you've done it one category at a time, those sorts of items, generally speaking, are also meant to be stored together. You also want to make sure that you are picking up or touching every single item. And that means sometimes picking up 50 shirts if you've got 50 shirts. But the point is that you should be touching every single item. And anything that you plan to get rid of, you should thank it for the things that it gave you, the memories, or by, clothing you, keeping you safe, whatever the item is, whatever it did for you, you're supposed to thank everything. And lastly, everything that you're keeping, according to her, should spark joy. So you should feel something for everything that you're choosing to keep. So there's a reason that I chose this as one of my top methods for going through everything. And one of the big things is that you're going through everything by category, which is really handy because if you're going room by room, especially if you have a lot of stuff split up, like I know people that have more than one closet, you might go through one closet and think, oh, great, I've got an excellent number of jeans or shirts or whatever it is. And then, maybe you move down a few rooms later on and you go through that closet and you have more clothes in there, but because you didn't have everything together, it's really hard to visualize all of it as a whole. And so you end up sometimes overkeeping a number of things that you really don't need. Another thing is that by going through everything and touching everything, every so often you rediscover something that you maybe accidentally lost or that just wasn't first and foremost in your mind. So an old book that got tucked in behind other things or old photos that fell in behind each other. And it's really great when you find something that you actually miss and love and you found it again. It's like early Christmas. She also has a particular folding method for just about everything under the sun, a certain way to fold socks, a certain way to fold shirts and pants. And when I first saw it, I thought it was the worst thing I had ever seen. I could not fathom doing that. But I decided to give it a try. And so at one point I had a bunch of laundry and I said, this is the time. And I took the time to fold just about everything the way she recommends. And now I can't stop folding it that way. It actually does work better, especially, and this was something I was doing sort of before even finding her method, but I love the way that when you fold shirts like her, it displays all of them. So when you look in a drawer, you see every single t-shirt or every pair of socks or whatever it is that you have, because it's all stacked upright in a way that you at least see a small portion of it. It is phenomenal, and you don't have to dig underneath of something. If you know you have a red shirt at the bottom of a pile, you don't have to upset everything on top of it to get to that one thing. It is so simple. Even though it takes an extra second to fold it, it saves so much trouble later. I also really like the mental quiet that comes with decluttering, and a lot of her method involves simplifying things in a way that maybe you have a lot of things with words on them, like I can't think of any of the cereal boxes, for example, and the way that you would store them is so that, you know, when you go to make breakfast in the morning and you walk into your kitchen, they aren't all just out on the counter and it's all this words and text and marketing just shouting at you first thing in the morning. And it's really pretty nice. We do have some, I mean, you can see I've got some visual clutter, but compared to the way that I used to keep things, it's much more simplified and much more contained. And what I do have out, generally speaking, I find very pleasing to look at. It's not a lot of visual noise. Like, I think it just cleans it up a little bit. And the last thing I really like about this is more something that my friends and husband really like about this, because I've gone through everything and I go through it pretty regularly, a couple times a year. I do what they call momming you to items. So you know how when you're missing something and you ask your mom, Mom, where's my pants? And your mom can be like, oh, you left it on the bookshelf in your bedroom or something really obscure. Apparently I can do that now, because people from another room in our apartment, when they're coming to visit, will ask, oh, where's a dish towel? I can guide you to which cupboard just by explaining it. Or you want a pair of nail clippers? I can tell you exactly which drawer they're in. You want anything in this apartment and I know exactly where it's stored. And if it's not there, then it's one other place. And if it's not there, then it doesn't exist anymore. So I really like being able to just off the top of my head think through one or maybe two places that something is, and that's where it ought to be. And it's great. So there are a few things that I really don't like about the KonMari method. And one of them is something that my mom brought up especially. Not everything that you keep sparks joy. She doesn't love most of her clothes, but you need clothes. So you've got to keep some things just for practical reasons. I mean, maybe I don't love every single dish or glass or piece of silverware that I have, but I mean, I've got to have something. So it definitely is hard to think along the lines of sparking joy versus practicality in a lot of senses, but it is still a good guide, at least, especially if you're on the fence about something and you think I could get rid of it or maybe not. If it's not sparking joy, then you probably can get rid of it. There's also something that I think that people get wrong about the KonMari method as well. And a lot of people say it's, decluttering, it's another step towards minimalism. And I don't quite think that's right. And one of the problems I have is there's a quote that I'm thinking of, and I can't remember if it was something that Marie Kondo said, if I read it somewhere, if someone else said it. So if anyone happens to know, please leave it in the comments. But it's not about getting rid of everything. It's about keeping the things that make you happy and displaying the things that make you happy and using the things that make you happy. And I cannot for the life of me find where I read or heard it, but an example was books. And it's not that you have to pare down every single book you own to only have just a couple. If you want 1,000 books, if every single one of those 1,000 books sparks a ton of joy for you, then it's about making sure that you are really loving those 1,000 books that you keep. And I think that a lot of people think that you have to just get rid of stuff and keep getting rid of stuff. And I mean, she does have a certain amount of, you know, even if you love some things, if you've read it 50 or 100 times, maybe it's time for it to move on. But at the same time, when you read her book or when you watch her show, you also realize that she understands that some things are just too hard to get rid of, and you do love them too much. So I think it is important that even if you are following this method, if you really truly love something and you really truly want to keep it, that's exactly what you do. You just keep it and you love it and you cherish and appreciate it. And if you ever feel like you've lost that feeling, that's the time to let it go. So I thought something that might be a little bit interesting would be to see what I'm getting rid of. And I KonMari'd probably back in spring, maybe March or April. So it's been a few months. It is October 1st as I am filming this. So I went through the apartment, grabbed a few more things, might be actually going through a couple more drawers. And I'll be honest, because I've done the KonMari thing before, I didn't do her actual method. I didn't gather every single item and, you know, I didn't pull all my clothes out, things like that, because I have pared down a lot of things, and because very similar items are stored together, I can just open a drawer or open a door and see basically everything that's the same item and count it. So for me, it's not as big a deal to go through the whole thing, and I'll be honest, I don't pick up every single item and thank it if I'm getting rid of it. I think that's a little much for me personally. That being said, again, I'm not superstitious. I don't really subscribe to objects having a soul or anything like that. However, I will confess there are a few things, especially the first couple of times that I did do the KonMari method, I did actually pick up a few things, hold them to my heart, and thank them. And I know that sounds really bizarre, but it just weirdly felt like the right thing to do. So with that being said, this is everything that I am opting to get rid of in this KonMari cleanup, I guess we could call it. So first thing is this foldable laundry basket. They installed finally new washers and dryers in the basement of the apartment, so we don't have to go to the laundromat anymore. So we have different laundry baskets that we've been using, and I haven't used those in probably a year, so I don't need those. Those can go away. Next thing is a sweater from Old Navy that is far too big for me. And fun fact, since last year, I've lost like 45 pounds. So this sweater is huge on me. Is it comfy? Yes. But A, it doesn't really have a place in my life because I can't wear it at work for how ridiculously big it is on me. And the other thing is, when I've lost weight, I think it's more valuable to wear clothes that are my size or only slightly too large. And I mean, I just don't need this anymore. So thank you, Navy sweater, for everything that you did for me when I needed you to. And on that same note, same sweater from Old Navy in black. The next thing I'm getting rid of are these sneakers, which look brand new, and they are from Payless Shoes, which I believe as of the time of filming this video, Payless Shoes maybe doesn't exist at all anymore, or at the very least they closed all their stores in Western New York. So these are now a rarity. So these were very inexpensive. I think they were only $15, and if I was just wearing them regular day to day, they'd probably be fine. But the problem I have is that I wanted to wear these at the gym. I love going to the gym. It's one of my favorite things. And I thought, great, no tie sneakers. That's awesome. That's phenomenal. They loosen up every single time I wear them, to the point that I have lost a shoe on the treadmill at the gym, which is very embarrassing. And on that same note, because they're so cheap, the bottom is like this felt stuff, and that's shredding up. There's no traction. These are the slipperiest things to wear. So you get what you pay for, and I just can't keep wearing these. These are actually becoming a danger to my health. So goodbye Payless shoes sneakers. This wonderful water pitcher came from Walmart. I think it was maybe $4, and it's great. It's huge, and when you fill it with water, it like bends the handle, and it's really hard to pour. And as cute as this is, it's not sturdy enough for actual usage. So goodbye water pitcher. Lunchbox. I keep getting lunchboxes. Every couple of years I get another lunchbox, and I think I will be that person that packs their lunch in a lunchbox. The problem is this pouch on the bottom doesn't fit any of my sandwich containers, and anything that you put on the bottom gets smushed, and then the whole top section isn't big enough for basically anything. So once again, for probably the 4th lunchbox in a row, goodbye lunchbox. I have a really nice measuring cup. I don't need this one anymore. Turns out I really hate taking the time to do prep work for food. So I wanted to be the person that made healthy fruit popsicles, and I am not the person who takes the time to make healthy fruit popsicles. The next thing I'm getting rid of is the old storage case for my netbook, and I haven't had a netbook computer in years, probably 5 years or more, and this case doesn't fit anything else, and it serves literally no other purpose, and I paid a lot of money and didn't want to get rid of it, and that's a terrible reason to keep something. I have a whole bunch of cables that probably will fit other people's devices, but they don't fit any of mine, and I don't know why I still have them. The next thing I'm getting rid of is one of my blazers, and I, for years and years and years, have had 2 blazers hanging in the front closet, and I have worn one blazer in 4 years. So there's no point in keeping the blazer that I like less, because I already don't wear the blazer that I like more. And the last thing I'm getting rid of is a stack of t-shirts which were on sale. I love the colors and the patterns. Like this shirt on the top, I was in love with it the second I saw it. However, in typical Old Navy fashion, their cheaper t-shirts are way too short, and it's not appropriate to wear them to work or basically anywhere. So goodbye t-shirts. So that is everything I am getting rid of on this round of decluttering, and I am sure once spring cleaning comes around again that I will probably go through everything again, maybe even after Christmas time after getting gifts. But if you guys like seeing what I have dehauled and hearing my thoughts about why I get rid of things and why I keep certain things, then leave a comment and a like, and I will keep doing this maybe a couple times a month, or maybe even more often if you guys like it more. So I'll see you guys in the next video.